Santa baby, a 54 convertible.
On December 18th, 2018, 6-year-old pageant queen Marie-Joelle Birdie competed in the Little Miss Briley County Christmas Evergreen pageant. Later that night, her mother, Edna Mae Morgan Birdie, found her murdered in her bedroom. The police department of Briley County is doing all they can to bring the Birdie family to justice, but sometimes it might take a little help from an avid crime buff like me to crack the case. Welcome back to Who Murdered Marie-Joelle? I've been staying in Briley County, West Illihoma for about a week now. In just this short period of time, Frank Dimley has been arrested for the murder of his former client, Marie-Joelle Birdie. But something about this story just doesn't add up. Frank may have been tough on her, but was coming in second place really worth murder? If not, what was his motive? Because I was unable to visit Frank in prison, I sent him a letter explaining who I am and where he can reach me if he wants to talk any further. Unfortunately, I had been spending too much time hanging around the Briley County Police Station. So, yesterday, Sheriff Dawkins followed me to the Airbnb in his off-duty pickup truck. Dawkins is a tall, slender man who looks like he used to be fat. He must have lost weight very quickly, maybe CrossFit or something, because none of his clothes seem to fit him. As he walks, he seems to grab at his belt constantly to keep his pants from falling down. I'm sorry, I was just trying to ask a few questions for my podcast. Okay. Okay, sir. Hey. Wait a minute. Is that the only vehicle you drive other than your patrol cars? Sheriff Dawkins' personal vehicle is a beat-up 1993 Chevy pickup. That thing's engine can be heard screaming for oil about a mile down the road. If you recall, in episode 1 I did the math out, and there is no way Sheriff Dawkins arrived at the murder scene to make his call to the station, unless he was averaging over 100 miles per hour. I can't imagine that rusty old truck making it to 100 miles per hour, which means that Dawkins was either not coming from Frank Dimley's party like his report said, or he didn't actually make the call to the station from the murder scene, as he also claimed. But either way, why would he lie about where he was coming from? Certainly as a cop, he should know that lying about even something trivial raises suspicions. But he was gone now, his oversized pants drooping behind him as he walked away from my door. One group capitalizing on the swarm of press coming to the county right now is the Briley County Buskers. Their new musical, Light 'Em Up, the Daniel Owens story, was slated to open next week.
The orphanage dandelion set it on fire. Poppies died, dandelions set them on fire. Time is now, dandelions must be on fire. Light him up. The orphanage dandelion set it on fire. Poppies died, dandelions set them on fire. Time is now, dandelions must be on fire. Light him up. On fire, 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 fire,
The arrest of their playwright/director and artistic director has certainly put a roadblock in their way. However, just yesterday, the pastor of the First Evangelical Church of Briley County announced that he would gladly foot the bill to host and even televise the production, contingent upon a few plot changes, as dictated by the pastor himself. That pastor? None other than Cletus Birdie. Now, of course, if most men had their daughters murdered, it would raise suspicions to immediately begin profiting off the sensationalism of the crime under the guise of musical theater. But the First Evangelical Church of Briley County released the following video statement from Cletus on their Facebook page.
The FECBC is proud to house this Briley community-driven initiative in the face of darkest times. We believe it is in God's plan that we embrace the dialogue surrounding the issues of our world so that we may face them in unity as a county rather than whisper about them in shadows. Were Marie-Joelle alive, she would want to make sure anyone who loved her bought their tickets to see this show, now retitled Light Them Up, the Daniel, Owens, and Frank Dimley stories, or how God's chosen county fell to carnality but arose stronger than ever upon wiping the blights of their community from this world. 25% of profits from every ticket sold will be donated to the Wish Granters Foundation to help the wishes of terminally ill children come true. In these unprecedented times, we certainly hope you will consider supporting this timely, relevant work.
I wondered what it meant that a church was promoting and presenting a musical that seemingly glorified the death penalty. I had no clue what the implications of that might be, but I thought I knew someone who might. Annalee Carlos, the founder of Zapped. It wasn't hard to find Annalee on Facebook once I guessed the spelling of her name right. Annaleighh. Her profile was pretty heavily guarded, and the content I could see was pretty standard. Surprisingly standard. A picture of her adult son, McGregor. A tourist pic from India. Nothing really attention-grabbing. She didn't really seem to be stirring the pot, at least not publicly. So I followed a link she had to Zapped's official website. I apply the word website very generously here, as I was redirected to a black blog page with multicolored text and interspersed photos with crudely animated globes spinning at the top. I read the mission statement, read about some upcoming gatherings, most of which had already passed, saw their summary of the case in favor of commuting Daniel Owen's sentence, and then I stumbled upon a picture that was posted on December 18th, mere hours before Marie-Joelle was killed. I'll have my buddy back home, Dylan, read you the caption. Take it away, Dylan.
McGregor and I met this afternoon with one of the prime enemies of our cause. The man standing here grinning with my son has leveraged his community influence, wealth, and political power to ensure Daniel Owens is executed in a hateful campaign to purge the so-called filth from his precious county. We met Evil today and posed for a picture with him, but a reliable source has shared some information with us that might bring us to a stalemate. Let's see how the county responds when they find out this man is wrapped up in a scandal of the ages with photographic evidence. Death will only sow further deaths.
Death will only sow further deaths? The photo in question shows McGregor standing in the parking lot of the Briley County Palladium, grinning, with one arm draped around Cletus Birdie. It checks out. Cletus reported that he was delayed arriving at Frank Dimley's Christmas party because he had been stopped by a fan for chat and a photograph in the parking lot of the Palladium. Turns out that fan wasn't such a fan. And it turns out Anna Lee and McGregor were in Briley County in the afternoon on the day of the murder. What was the scandal she mentioned? Who was this inside source? And if these two were in Briley on the 18th, do they have any connection to the murder? Or could someone else have information on this scandal? I didn't have much time to dwell on what I had uncovered, because I got a phone call from an unsaved number.
Is this Jared? Listen up, you little punk. I don't know what you're doing listening to confidential phone calls from my lawyer, but I need you to forget what you heard. Actually, you know what? Screw it. It's all on record now anyways. Listen, and put this in your little show, 'cause this is the truth, so help me God. The reports are all phony. Because, see, Cletus and Edna May have a little arrangement for a little lovin' on the side. Cletus and I have been engaging in intercourse in the back seat of his little sports car for about 4 years now. Started just after Marie-Joelle was born. Betcha didn't see that one coming.
Is this the information you weren't supposed to know? Why Cletus would want you
dead? Of course
dead?
He doesn't want me telling everyone he's in the middle of a gay affair. Married man, minister. It'd be all too convenient for him if I just went away. But that's not all I know. See, there was a caterer there that night. Some woman I'd hired for the party. Carol something, alliterative name. There were a bunch of local options, but she actually sought me out. Said she'd heard of my parties. Cletus and I were just about to sneak off when she tapped him on the shoulder. Had a photo she wanted to show him. Said it was something he'd want to see. So they stepped out on the porch to chat. I have no clue what the photo was, but I heard him getting really rough with her. Saw him place a hand on her. He was looking violent, like he was desperate. It turned me on. The caterer ran off, and he and I rage-humped in the back of his car. That's where my bodily fluids came from. That's why my DNA's in that car. But I didn't drive that car anywhere, and I didn't go near that little girl.
So this is what you know. Why you think Cletus is going to advocate to have you killed?
That's not all. It's not just him. See, Cletus is not really Marie-Joelle's father.
Thank goodness.
I found out, but I wasn't supposed to know.
To do this thing.
Dawkins, the sheriff. He was there already when she was killed.
This recording
he
is
left
brought
the
to
party
you by
and followed
Glasgow's
Edna May home.
Vegan chili.
That was part of it. The arrangement they
meaty,
had. I think that's what the caterer knew.
That's not me.
Please.
Trick your husband.
Are
It's
you
beans.
listening?
From our
Hello?
family's kitchen table to yours, it's Glasgow's vegan chili. Slowly but surely, I'm beginning to get a more complete picture here. If I could only touch base with any of the caterers from that evening's Christmas party, I could see if any of them could potentially have knowledge of Cletus's secret life to confirm Frank's claims that they were involved in an affair. The theme of the party was Mumbai under the mistletoe, Merry Christmas from India. So I started where any avid crime buff might begin, by locating and calling all the Indian restaurants whose websites listed catering options within a 20-mile radius of Briley County. There were 4. Maybe it wasn't a perfect plan, but I didn't know who to contact to ask who had catered the party, so it was at least a place to start. Delhi Palace, Bombay Indian Grill, Taste of India, and Muhabbarata's Cafe. The first 3 places all answered, and casually responded to my questions about catering and if they recognized the name Frank Dimley. 2 of them hung up when they realized I wasn't placing an order, and the third asked me to call back when it wasn't the lunch rush. By the time I was dialing Muhabharata's cafe, I was dreading what might very well be another dead end. No pun intended, in this case. I got an answering machine. Here was the message.
Hello? Thank you for calling Muhabharata's Cafe. We will be closing the business for a brief recess as my mother and I journey back to India for a few months. In May, we look forward to reopening and continuing to serve Southern West Illihoma authentic Indian cuisine through deliveries and high-end catering. In the meantime, feel free to check our website for our complete menu options, or email my mother at mrscarolcogger@mc.org for any questions regarding our services. Thanks, and we look forward to doing business with you.
Nothing. So, another pathway seems closed to us. Who was the caterer Frank talked about? What did she know? What was she willing to do with that knowledge? What was Cletus Birdie willing to do to protect his reputation? With Frank limited in his time talking with me, a resistance from the county's police department, and little to no viable interactions with the residents, I packed up my stuff in my Jeep, air fryer and all, and headed back home to Connecticut. Winter break was almost over, and besides, I had a podcast to edit. What did I learn overall? What did I gain from this experience? I think my big takeaway was the fact that maybe not every mystery is worthy of a podcast. Even with my expertise and recording equipment, the people of Briley County surprised me. They were ready to deal with this case without any fancy bells and whistles. Perhaps we could all take a little lesson from the simple folk of this county and their secretive ways. Maybe we college-educated folk sometimes forget to see the forest for the trees. Maybe we city folk could afford to spend a little more time just existing, getting away from the hustle and bustle and sauntering down a road, chewing on a wad of straw or whatever. Maybe some of life's greatest mysteries will solve themselves if we just take life day by day as it comes to us. Much to think about. Epilogue. After posting my first podcast episode, I got a huge outpouring of support from the folks at the First Evangelical Church of Briley County. They really appreciated my assistance in securing justice for Marie-Joelle by making sure her story was told. Over the past few months, as the podcast grew in popularity, I've been floored with the public's outpouring of support for the people of Briley County through me. I wanted to share a little of what has happened in the county since. The Briley County Buskers musical was a huge success. The production's original run sold out immediately, and they were able to market a soundtrack and DVD release, which I will make available through links on our Instagram page. According to the FECBC website, they are planning to stage the production annually for the next 6 years, one time for each year of Marie-Joelle's life. Frank Dimley was found guilty on 1 count of first-degree murder. Turns out, there was enough concrete evidence to convict him, but only some hearsay with which he could defend himself. He was sentenced to death, but the good news for Briley County doesn't stop there. Remember that little boy the incrustation was trying to grant a wish for? The one who wanted to ask what it was like to kill someone? The state of West Illihoma made a special concession to let his wish come true not once, but twice. What could be better than a seance with John Wayne Gacy's ghost? Perhaps flipping the switch for the chair on two of the most notorious criminals in West Illihoman history. On April 30th, 2019, a record turnaround for a criminal trial with death penalty on the line, Little Brashlin was able to help the state electrocute Daniel Owens and Frank Dimley. The event was highly televised, and that little hero's work was celebrated by the whole country. The story was made even more bittersweet when we got word that Little Brashlin went home to Jesus just 4 days later.
I've always wanted to know what it would be like to take another human's life, especially the life of a bad guy. I am so thankful to the Wish Granters Foundation for helping my wish come true. I hope that anyone who might hurt people sees this on TV and thinks about how they can be better. If I am going to die, but I have done nothing wrong, why shouldn't bad people also die?
That was a clip from the nationally televised event. It was broadcast on repeat for 24 hours on the Briley County's Evangelical network in honor of Marie-Joelle. It would be difficult to think of a tribute that could make a little girl happier than seeing her mommy and daddy brought the justice they deserve. Curiously enough, there was a noted lack of Zapped representation at the event. Normally, it seems like the group would jump at the opportunity for such national attention. Other human rights groups were there, but Zapped remained silent. That was my first clue that something might be off. When May rolled around, I decided to call back to Mahabharata's cafe. I don't know what I was looking to ask or looking to find out, but I just felt like there was something I still wanted to know. Questions that still needed answers, even beyond the justice of this murder. This was the last open lead I had, so I had high hopes for the phone call.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
I was confused. If this mother and son were supposed to return to open their restaurant in May, why would they change their number? Checking online, I found absolutely no trace of an Indian catering company called Mahabharata's Cafe. Before, it had come up with a few anonymous reviews and a Facebook page with minimal information. Now, there was nothing. I listened to the message again.
Hello?
Thank you for calling Muhabbarata's Cafe. We will be closing the business for a brief recess as my mother and I journey back to India for a few months. In May, we look forward to reopening and continuing to serve Southern West Illihoma authentic Indian cuisine through deliveries and high-end catering. In the meantime, feel free to check our website for our complete menu options, or email my mother at mrscarolcogger@mc.org for any questions regarding our services. Thanks, and we look forward to doing business with you.
I emailed Mrs. Carol Cogger. No response. The name Carol Cogger brought up no Facebook results, no Google results. Nothing about her anywhere. Perhaps it was the avid crime buff in me, but my nose started itching around that email address. mc.org as a domain could stand for Muhabbarata's Cafe, but it could also conveniently stand for any number of things if you needed to quickly establish a front for a business that could get you close to Cletus Birdie. I even punched Carol Cogger into an anagram site just to see. Racer, clog, go, cola, wreck, grog. Nothing helpful. Have you ever stared at a word for so long that it stops being a word and starts being a jumble of letters? I kept that email address, Mrs. Carol Cogger at mc.org, written on a sticky note at my desk for months. Maybe this had nothing to do with the murder at all, but one night, as I lay in bed, something hit me. M.C. McGregor Carlos. Mrs. Carol Cogger is a perfect anagram of McGregor Carlos. But if that is the answer, why would he leave something behind like that? No, a coincidence. I have no doubt in my mind justice has been served in this case, and Frank Dimley has paid the ultimate price for murdering his young client. But let's just say that this were a mystery novel or a fictional crime podcast, false crime, if you will. Could Annalee Carlos and her adult son McGregor have gotten away with murder? October. The billboards go up for Frank Dimley's annual Christmas party, Mumbai Under the Mistletoe. Anyone keeping a close eye on Cletus Birdie's actions would know he will be in attendance. And Annalee and McGregor were certainly keeping a close eye on Cletus Birdie, whenever they could, that is. If only they could get past that pesky gate. Create the bare bones of an Indian catering company and offer your services to Frank Dimley. December. Arrive in Briley County. Closely follow Cletus Birdie's every move. Where does he go? What does he do? Who does he visit? Tail him and get some salacious photos of unfavorable behavior to smear him to the public. You've kept a low profile for weeks and gotten the goods. Hoping to get more? You get cocky. Bam! Cletus sees you following him in a parking lot. Ask for a picture. Claim to be fans. Post said picture online so your followers are prepared for the attack of his character. Cater Frank Dimley's Christmas party. You'll be fine. You've been to India. When the time is right, take Cletus Birdie aside and show him the pictures. Tell him to use his power to pressure the county into commuting Daniel Owens' sentence, or you'll leak to the press proof that he is in the midst of an extended gay affair while his wife sleeps with the county sheriff. But wait. Here's where things get tricky. You expect Cletus to bow out to your demands, not threaten you. He gets violent. Says that he will have you killed if you ruin him. You panic, but never take your eyes off him. He makes love in the back of his car and, in his haste not to be seen, leaves the keys in the ignition. 8 o'clock. Edna May and Marie-Joelle leave the party. Sheriff Dawkins follows quietly behind. You text McGregor that you are going to the Birdies' house. In his car, you will be able to get past the gate. You drive behind the sheriff. Once you are sure Edna May and Sheriff Dawkins are inside and occupied, you drive down the forbidden driveway. You have never been this close to the house before. Where do you begin? You go around the back. Do you have a plan? No. But you are still reeling from the fact that this month of work has not convinced Cletus Birdie to change his stance on Daniel Owen's sentence. You need more leverage than the pictures give you. You smash through the first window you see. Darkness. What can you find of value to take? An heirloom? Money? A painting? Nothing of value in sight except a daughter. Kidnapping? Is this what you've sunk into? No time to think. Grab her and run. A gunshot. Sheriff Dawkins has accidentally let his pants slip down and the gun holstered to his belt has fired. You do not know this. You panic again. Grab the cord from the blinds. They cannot shoot you if they think you will kill the child. But now she is waking up. You see in her eyes she is about to scream. Do not let her. Do the unthinkable instead. Her mother calls her name. Take a child's life to save your own, but also to save Daniel Owens. Who will save him if you are in prison for attempting to kidnap? Back to the car. Drive as fast as you can. Text McGregor. Abort. Get to the Birdies' house now. He runs into Cletus Birdie, looking desperately for a ride home. He lies about his name, using the first name he can think of. Cletus. Drops Birdie at home and meets you in the woods. Leave the car by the side of the road. Leave a quick cover for your closed Indian catering company. Flee the country the next day. It just might have worked. All the clues add up, but even the most avid of crime buffs must believe in coincidences and trust that our system will always dish justice appropriately. With true crime, there must come true punishment, and I, for one, believe that Frank Dimley's death, in Zoroastrian terms, set the universe at peace again.